Thank you all for coming, and thank you all on the stage for making time. It clearly shows that this film means a lot to you all. It's a very special film. I guess you all also meeting each other after a long time together. So thanks to Cinema House, you're all here. I don't know where to start from because there's so much one can talk about this. 12 years from a macro perspective is not a very long time. But from a micro perspective, 12 years is a very long time. Even if you look at cinema, it changes 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It's too early to tell what kind of films we made in the last 20 years. So probably in the next 20 years, we'll come to know. But if you look at this film now, when we saw it, it looks like it was made yesterday. Thanks to the characters, the story, the storytelling, it looks so fresh, so new. And more than anything else, I think in the last 12 years, your journey has also, has its own life, the way it has shaped up and, what it was at that time and where you all are today. So, Vasan, to start with, let's talk a little bit about the origins of the film. I heard that Johnny Cash and a song by Johnny Cash is what gave you the idea to write this film. So, would you throw some light on that?
Hello. It's really a bundle of emotions. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how to let it out. But yeah, just coming back to the question, it was God's gonna cut you down, and it started with that one sequence wherein this guy is chasing this other guy, and we don't know who's the good guy or the bad guy. That, like, the morality of it or the judgment of it, we don't keep. But then the guy who's chasing, he ends up shooting someone else. That was the one scene that I had earlier. And then obviously, the story came in, the other characters came in, the milieu came in. But it all started with that one sequence and that someone just chasing someone and, the bullet but being named for someone else.
Right, and you wanted to make a video of that Johnny Cash song, and that kind of translated into writing a screenplay for this film.
True. Yeah.
Talk us a little bit about writing the variety of characters, and the screenplay is yours. Just talk us about the process of writing those characters, especially Gulshan's character, all of them actually, which are so very unique in their own right.
So I think 12 years ago, there really wasn't a process. It was more to just rush into a screenplay and to, just beg, coerce people into giving money to shoot. So there wasn't, in that sense, also when you look back at how the film happened, I think it's unbelievable how naive we were and having no idea as to what we are jumping into. We still don't, but we still maybe are corrupted enough to pad ourselves up with a few things. But this going back to this is and hopefully plugging in the new film that's coming out.
Yes, I was going to do that later, but
is probably going back to the roots, which was this more than anything else. So there was no process as such. It was more stream of consciousness, and once we sat with the footage, we were like, oh shit, lag gaye. And then it took its time to find the story all over again. And 12 years later, nothing has changed. The process is still the same. In that sense, a little more safety in that sense, which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. If you look at it as safety, as in, what is going to save you in the edit or be less embarrassing in front of the editor. That maine to liya hai. That is the only learning, but I think otherwise, it's still, you have to dive right in when the instinct kicks in that, this is what you're going to be spending the next couple of years or, how many years now, you don't know, doing.
Since you mentioned the edit part of it and the footage that y'all shot, I'm sure a lot of people must be interested in the intricacies of how you made the film, especially the editing part. I mean, so much of it is so very sharp, which was not so much the style in Hindi cinema at that point. We've seen it in foreign films, but not so much in Hindi cinema. A couple of examples is, when he's talking to the doctor for the first time. It's a very sharp cut. Next scene, you see him, having an ice cream with the other lady there. Even the second time when he's, abuses the lady doctor on the phone, again, there's a very sharp cut there. So did you all plan it in advance? We shoot this and then this is how the structure of the film will be? Or Is it purely on the editing table?
No, it's to be very brutally honest, salvage. I think when you're in that zone of filmmaking, wherein camera shoot hua hai, but we don't know whether the footage is going to be there. If the footage is there, in what form we don't know. So in that, it is more like, I don't think Godar or Tufo knew what jump cuts were till they had to arrive at a point wherein baat phail gayi, ab sameto. So I think technique kind of helps you, shocks you, and makes you discover things because of a very certain necessity, rather than being too pre-planned about it. I think once you're planning all this, then I think it will come out as very pretentious, and the audience will get. I think will catch it very soon, that this is made to make a certain impression. But when you're busy saving your house, I think that sincerity and that honesty kind of comes through, and which might just connect with the audience.
It doesn't show. I mean, it looks like it was very nicely planned, and this is exactly what you wanted to show, and stop it exactly at this point.
She knows the best, even today.
So if I give you, hi everyone. So if I give you example of the climax, so in between the climax, it just goes to black and we just hear sound and everything. The reason why that happened was we only had one camera, and that day by chance we had two, but one was Ari and one was red, so the footage wasn't matching. So we had no other choice but just to cut to black and put sounds, and that became the most powerful, impactful. That's what we heard in Cannes, that people saying, "Oh my God, it was brutal," but it was a black screen. So with Peddlers, what we learned is in filmmaking, if anything goes wrong, it'll go in your favor. So always use it to your advantage is what I learned from Peddlers, and I'm glad that it was my first film and I could learn that.
And the start of any indie film is never great. You're struggling. This was also a crowdsourced film, which I think is a good time to bring Guneet into the conversation. So, Guneet, tell us about those days and tell us about your memories of Peddlers and how you came into this project.
How I came into to matlab, we wanted to do it. Like, I don't think there was deep there was a deep in love and friendship, and all of us just really wanted to make a movie. We were told, we were all working at Anurag Kashyap Films, and we were told कि मत बनाओ.
There was a dramatic walkout and all.
Oh, yeah, we were like हम बना के दिखाएंगे.
Please elaborate on that. That sounds
तो वो
very exciting
जज्बे
episode.
में बना ली हमने.
No, that day, I think me and Anurag fought. I walked out, and the first guy I called was Gulshan. I asked him कि Anurag तो film नहीं बना रहा, तू है क्या? He's like, I don't care. I'm working with you. So that was like.
तो हमारा वो वॉकआउट भी था अपने थर्मोकॉल्स के साथ, बिकॉज हमारा ना स्केड्यूल थर्मोकॉल पर लगा हुआ था. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर. तो हमने बोला था हम आपके ऑफिस से काम नहीं करेंगे, हम अपना थर्मोकॉल उठा के बाहर चले गए. अपना स्केड्यूलिंग. तो इट रियली वाज वॉकआउट, मतलब वहीं पर ही, अंदर वाले से नहीं, बाहर.
That scene in हेरा फेरी, मैं रेंट दे के ही जाऊंगा, बट हम लोग निकल गए मतलब.
So वो तो हमें बहुत बोला गया था कि मत बनाओ, कैसे करोगे रिलीज, हम देख लेंगे, हम पहले बना तो लेना. तो बनाने के लिए इट वाज बेसिकली I think a Facebook post that we are looking for 10 people to give us 10 lakhs each, just because we'll make a film. There's no logic to that, but it was more like this is going to be a closed club. तो ऐसा हमने crowdfund. There was no crowdfunding website at that point of time. So it was just my own Facebook, and then some people started responding to it because हम उससे पहले I'd produced some films, and people back home in Delhi were also curious कि कैसे होता है. तो we was like ठीक है 10 लाख दे दो. और सबको फ़ोन कर ये बोला गया था that so ऐसे 6-7 लोग आ गए 10 देने वाले. Then this news spread out, and then a news article happened in Economic Times like crowdfunding a film. And फिर वो जैसे ही बहुत बड़ा एक आर्टिकल आया Economic Times पे, so then people reached out to me that we would also, like random people out of the face, not on my Facebook, reached out and said we'd like to put in and support. तो फिर सबको बोला कि and then there were people that we used to work with, like I used to be a line producer, like in a line production company that did a lot of foreign films. I used to work there, Khushro Films, so Firoz Alamir. So all these, people are, they had big companies and were wealthy, but were not producers. They were working on foreign films. So they were like, चल 10 लाख दे के देख लेते हैं. तो ऐसे करते करते 10 लोग इकट्ठे किए एंड कुछ फिर हमने कमा कमा कर 10-20 पोस्ट के टाइम पर कि कुछ और करते हैं, फिर इसमें डालते हैं, कुछ और करते हैं, ऐसे करते करते फिल्म बनी. बट 8-10 लोगों के बाद वी हैड स्टार्टेड कि चलो नाउ वी हैव दिस एंड वी विल फिगर इट आउट. सो इट वॉज क्राउड फंडेड बाय बाय मतलब ऐसे जुड़ते जुड़ते कारवां बनता चला गया. And very grateful to the actors who came on board, and all the crew. Siddharth, Prerna and I went to the same college. We were friends. So we remember कि वहाँ पर तो मतलब Siddharth was making the lights because we could not hire, तो बहुत सारी DIY चीज़ें थी that Vasan led everyone to do this. Achin was on floor, so Achin is not the executive producer. He's a complete producer on the film, making things happen. So it is made with a lot of love and a lot of fearlessness and a lot of himmat and jazba of, it is indie filmmaking 101. It was really like, kar to hum lenge. And I think our biggest high, and our biggest redemption and moment of high was that हम Gangs of Wasseypur के साथ Cannes गए थे. So 2012, we were at Cannes. There was also Anurag sir's film, and there was also our film. And we were in competition. Thanks. We were in competition. But the best, my moment of that was that in a train ride, in Paris when the films were getting selected and I was there for 2-3 weeks, I told Anurag sir कि अब आप आ जाओ, अब थोड़ा I think that they're getting selected and we should do some FaceTime with the programmers. So वो train ride पे Anurag sir, I still remember, told me कितने producer हैं तेरे? तो मैंने कहा हैं 8-10, और सबको फ़ोन करके बहुत शिद्दत से बोला था कि हो सकता है कि आपके पैसे वापस ना आए, पर हम कुछ बहुत अच्छा बनाएंगे, हम अपना पूरा दे देंगे. हाँ, तो बहुत सिंसियरली सबको बोला था. एंड वो सब भी बहुत खुश हैं कि कैन आए थे. दे ऑल केम टू कैन, दे वर ऑल सेलिब्रेटिंग. वेल, इट्स अ ह्यूज थिंग, आई मीन, गेटिंग सिलेक्टेड इन कैन इन कॉम्पिटिशन, बिकॉज इट वॉज अ वेरी वेल मेड फिल्म. And I still was getting emotional listening to the song because it is still so beautiful, and it has to come out someday. Yeah, so then Anurag sir asked कि अच्छा कितने producer हैं? मैंने बोला हैं 10 हैं. अच्छा, फिर मेरा भी नाम डाल दे. तो ये तो हमारी हुई ना फिल्म. मैंने बोला हाँ हमारी ही है, आप क्या ही वेट कर रहे हो. तो then, so that's how that. But of course, it's also an ode to everything we learned from him, and he taught us. He taught us to walk out. He taught us to कि मैं अपने तो किससे सुनाते थे कि मैंने walk out किया, फिर मैंने जिद में बना ली, तो हम भी उन्हीं राह में चलते चलते.
So true. Does it feel like it was a lifetime ago? I mean, so much has happened in the
In
last.
fact, we were just shooting this music video with Diljit, and I was just telling Swapnil, the DOP, कि यार इसका जो per day अपनी पूरी picture थी.
Achin, you want to add something before I bring in the fabulous actors from the film?
Yeah, I think this is our own boyhood. It's just that the boyhood happened behind the scene, not in front of screen. So it's very strange to see, Deep is here, the Tanveer, the sweet boy. I'm sure that boy is now grown up to. The iPhone seems very old right now, but yeah, I mean, there are too many emotions, too many things. How every day was achieved, what happened, before we went on floor, while you were on floor, and first cuts are always interesting, but this was the best first cut for us because we were just happy कि film shoot हो गई. Normally you are so planned, everything is in your control. Here we had literally no control. I mean, kudos to everyone. I mean, everyone, be it the technicians, be it the actors, but we were achieving things on the go because we had, at least you should get 50% of basic resources. Here, I think everyone was working with 20%. And the joy of finishing a film was, I mean, I don't think we have done many films after that, but the same joy I don't think we will ever get, because For us, we had no plans. I mean, it was an innocence, and that innocence you cannot get back. And for the film to go to Cannes, it was a dream come true. Hopefully, now one day it will come out, and that will be the icing in cake.
Really, thank you, Nikhil, for bringing all of us together and doing this. मतलब, I really, आपने बहुत अच्छे से शुरुआत की कि 10 साल मैक्रो माइक्रो मतलब कहीं ना कहीं लगता है कि एक लाइफ टाइम बीत गई है, बट कहीं ना कहीं ऑल्सो लगता है दैट दिस इज़ बीन सच अ ब्यूटिफुल ड्रीम, इट्स बीन सच अ ब्यूटिफुल जर्नी दैट वी हैव सो मच लव एंड नॉस्टैल्जिया इन आवर हार्ट. सो thank you. It means a lot. It just means a lot. We'll go do many other things. We'll continue making films. But you can never forget where you started and how you started and what you felt that time.
Right, and continuing the conversation about the film, it's a great time to bring in the actors here. As Vasan was saying, you were always on the film, because I was reading somewhere that they didn't have a producer and yes, no chal raha tha. But you were totally committed to it from day one. Was it because of the director? Was it because of the character? Or was it a combination
No,
of
it was
everything?
him. I really thought I liked him. That's it. It was just simple. There was something about him that he gave me a one-pager while we were promoting Shaitan, I think, or shooting Shaitan, I can't remember. He gave me a one-pager about what Peddlers was about. And I read it. I can't remember what I really got from that one page. But then there was something about him. There was a spark inside him. I was like, yeah, I think this would be good. And it was just that. Like, I really liked him. I believed in his stories, and I still do. And that's the only reason why I was, I decided to do this film. Nothing else really mattered at that point of time, because we had decided that we are going to do it. And of course, like everything that you can't think of also happens sometimes as roadblocks. But then it just didn't seem to be demotivating me at that point of time. I decided we'll do this. So come hell or high water, we were going to do it.
I know every character is challenging, and you approach it differently. Talk us about this particular character, because he has so many shades to him. He likes to be bossy. He's also terrified at times.
He's quite an asshole, actually. So yeah, so it's a little bit. I think you have to accept the fact that it's a flawed character. He's not a nice person. He may seem like he's a nice person, but he's so insecure about his impotency. He kind of projects that, and he does whatever in order to compensate for that. And he's living a lie almost. And there is this aggression also inside him, which kind of sometimes it just shows up, and he takes it out on him. And it was a complex character, and I don't know how much I really understood. But then I think I had a slightly different way of approaching characters, which I don't use anymore. I just wanted to be very irritable all the time. So I was eating boiled chicken and boiled potatoes and without any salt and all of that thing. It was working for the character, but it was not nice for other people. I was not a friendly person on set, and it just didn't seem fun. Somewhere I think halfway through the filming I gave that up. I gave it up because it wasn't fun. I was able to harness that irritation in the performance, but I was working with nice people, and I wanted to have fun with them and get to know them and enjoy the process. That wasn't happening. I was very new. I was a lot more raw. A lot more nervous energy was there. But a motivation was also there that we have to do something like this. And I felt very trusted also by Vasan. He barely used to give any direction. Sometimes the scenes would be like just, this happens. And then we would like completely improvise. We would devise the scenes over and over again. And then he would decide like, we'll keep this, we'll keep that. And sometimes he has an idea that do this, ऐसा बोल दे, वैसा बोल दे. And that's pretty much
ऐसा टाइप का कुछ बोल सकता है.
ऐसा टाइप का कुछ बोल सकता है, हाँ. And that's pretty much how I've like even during मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता also it was pretty much that. उसको देख के ऐसा कुछ बोल दे, And then it was there, and there was never really any question or anything like that. It was just a collaborative effort, and I really liked working with him. It was difficult, of course. It was we didn't have any money. We didn't know if we were going to shoot the next day, and we didn't have any equipment. Many times we didn't have permissions. and a lot of things that could go wrong was going wrong. But then, yeah, there is this. I mean, I don't want to unnecessarily romanticize it too much, but then there was this spirit amongst us, which I hope that we will be able to sort of bring out even now also, if necessary. It's there. It's definitely there in Vasan, I know. It's there. We bring it out whenever it's necessary. That was there, that we have to do this somehow. We have to do this. So that, I think, that was the glue that kept us together. And a lot of people were debuting with this film. Siddharth Devan's first film, Prerna's first film. Actually, they met and then eventually married on this because of this film. Was it your first
it was his
first
debut.
film? It was not her first, but then her
Even
second one.
Karan Kulkarni's first.
Karan Kulkarni's first film, Nimrat Kaur's first film. Nimrat's first. She was a veteran, like a star. By then.
These two were the veterans.
So, but it was we were not really, we were all like not friends or such, but then we were all there for each other. So I think I remember it fondly that way.
I guess the rawness, the spontaneity, the collaborative effort is what made the film special, and
And it was
shows. Today.
And it was Vasan, like, for me, it was always like, I would look at him. Sometimes he would be tense, sometimes he would be happy. But then I think it was just, it's a tough day. We should somehow, do our best. And so that he doesn't,
मुझे
because
एक
he would
footage-
hardly say anything,
मुझे एक दिन फुटेज दिखाई थी बिकॉज मैं बीच में अय्या के सेट्स पे भी थी और वो देख DDLJ टाइप कुछ बना रहे हैं ऐसा भी हुआ था लाइक ओके बट इट वाज रियली ऑल वासन सॉरी
I think because people, he has this thing about him, I think people somehow, they help him out, or they're there for him, and they figure it out somehow. I think he brings that out in people.
Right. Kriti, about your character, you don't have too many dialogues
Yeah.
in a lot of scenes, but you have to emote still. So talk us about your preparation for the role and your memories of the film.
Yeah, it was. I was actually watching it after 12 years. The last time I watched it was at Cannes, and Mami happened in between, which I'd missed. So watching it again after a dozen years was like, it brings back so many memories. I just told Siddharth when the film got over, it like brings back every single day that we shot, and it was so much fun. I still remember the day that I met Vasan the first time and was cast that day. And then I met Siddharth right after that. We did some tests together. It was, for me personally, I'd done one film before this, which most of my scenes were by myself. So I was like, okay, let's see if I can act with co-actors and how that goes. Preparation wise, I don't think there was much. It was just that ye scene hai, aise kar lete.
I think it's the only time ever in my life I ever recommended an actor for a film. And I recommended her. Yeah.
How do I not know this?
New revelation. Before we come to Siddharth, how did you find this Andrew Garfield, as you all refer to him then?
So this, I think Anmol Ahuja, he found him on Facebook, some photograph, and he'd shared his photograph. And I think he was in Kerala. And we had
You had
to
seen me on
meet-
stage at Prithvi.
He'd seen him on stage. Asakta, the group
Yeah,
that you were a
no,
part
Nata
of.
Company.
Nata
My company. I was doing a lot of experimental theatre that.
So that is how. So Anmol had shown, and then one photograph. I don't know. I felt like he is this character. He is Mandar, and then we kind of reached out to him. He was in Kerala. We wanted him urgent, and I mean, if anyone knows Anmol, then if he wants someone here, then whatever they are in the midst of, they have to just come, and he makes it happen. So I think something of that happened with him also.
Yeah, he asked me for an intro. Not a these are my profiles wala intro. That's the only intro I've given in my life where I've not shown profiles, by the way. But he told me to just introduce myself, just any which way you wanted, and send it via email. And I had a BlackBerry Curve, so he said, "Nahi, ye nahi chalega. Acha wala phone chahiye." So in Kerala, I went to my uncle who had that Nokia N72. हाँ कब नहीं कुछ ऐसा कुछ था and I borrowed it and I shot a intro and somehow sent it. It was so difficult to send these files and it was 25 MB 30 MB. I couldn't Yeah. And yeah.
So this was also your debut film, and
Yeah.
of course, after that, you did so many roles. Many of you all must be knowing he won the National Award for June, a Marathi film.
Terrific performance.
Yeah.
Terrific performance.
So tell us about, you were
Yeah, I mean,
you were very young, I was going to say. I
21.
was thinking of the right word to use. 21.
21, yeah.
So,
He and Achin were the same age.
Achin was also 23. Achin was 23.
23. Yeah, he's elder to me. Yeah.
He looks elder, that's all.
Deep was very young also.
Yeah.
He was like 17 or something.
Ha.
Deep was child labor.
Yeah. So I started acting like on stage when I was 17 years old, and very, very intensely. And obviously, I was in Pune Film Institute. I used to visit very often because they used to call for like dialogue films and diploma films and stuff like that. And I used to just go to learn. And somewhere when I started coming to Mumbai to perform, I always wanted to be in film, theatre, something that I discovered. And I was like, नहीं lead role कौन देगा यार अपने को, कोई नहीं देगा. So maybe एक हाथ छोटा role करके we'll make it to the lead. But then what happened is started auditioning, and I don't know what arrogance I had about myself at that time. I used to say no a lot. I used to say नहीं ये मैं नहीं करूँगा, ये role ऐसा है तो मैं नहीं करूँगा. I used to purposely, I think, give bad auditions subconsciously because I used to not feel like ये क्या है वो क्या है. And then suddenly Anmol called me one day and he said ऐसा ऐसा film. He didn't tell. The fun part is nobody told me until I asked Vasan कि am I doing this part. Like nobody told me because he just said intro भेज दे, कहाँ है क्या कर रहा है, intro भेज दे. Like this is how Anmol talks. Like हाँ मैं भेज रहा हूँ, ये कर रहा हूँ, वो कर रहा हूँ. And I remember I came by train. He said नहीं यार तुझे आना ही होगा यार, नहीं यार and all. And I came. The train got delayed. It got, because it was raining. It went to. It was supposed to come to Bombay. It went to Pune. I got wet. Sat in one Nita Volvo. Then traffic. And I was like, if I don't reach now, whatever this role is, film is going. Because Anmol had sold Anurag Kashyap's name to me. So that is what got me going. That's why I didn't ask many questions.
जहाँ से हम walkout कर चुके थे.
हाँ, नहीं तो मैं बोलता क्या है, मैं नहीं करूँगा, नहीं भेजोगे तो.
हमें चाहिए आपको ना.
हाँ, so and then somehow I came, and because of that, I was so young, body heat and all. I had this big boil on my nose, and I was like, who's gonna give me any part like this, And I went in. The first thing I saw was Dave D poster.
He worked out of Anurag's office only.
Yeah.
Even after he said
In the
no.
outside veranda.
In the outside veranda. And I met Shilpa. She's here. Yeah, who did the costumes. And this bunch of ADs, they just, they didn't audition me. They like ragged me, of sorts. Like how do you see in the beginning of the film, those guys who are like, go find a life and all. They told me to do random ash stuff. वहाँ जाके cigarette खरीद, इसको propose कर, ये कर, वो कर. And I was like, okay. Then they interviewed me. And then after that, I met Vasan. And he said, मैं दिखता हूँ, we'll see. And I was like, okay. And then he sent me a message on Facebook Messenger, and he said, Macha, great stuff. Let's make this work. I said, okay. 2 days later, he said, come to office. And then he gave me the script. Again, not telling me which role, nothing. And I kept looking for smaller characters in the script because I'm like, apne ko kaun dega, right? But then this Mac was like, wow. And the screenplay was very different, by the way. It's not like this. It changed at the edit. It completely went here and there. Anyway, long story short, in the end, I asked Vasan, what am I doing in this film? And he said, oh, sorry, किसी ने बताया नहीं. तू lead कर रहा है. ये Mac का role है. I was like, how do you explain what one 21-year-old guy feels? But this was my film school. I mean, now they're saying crowdfunding, this, that, and all. I was from experimental theatre, so I was in Candyland. यू नो वहाँ स्पेस नहीं मिलता है रिहर्स करने के लिए किसी के यू नो लिविंग रूम में बालकनी में गणपति में शो कर रहे हैं रोड पे लाइक सो आई वाज लाइक मैं फिल्म का हीरो हूँ यार so I was on a different yeah I was you know every day I remember going to shoot I used to listen to Sadda Haq and jo bhi main kehna chahu and all and like that was the zone I was in and Vasan really you know he took my hand and he included me in everything like he took me for tech recce's camera tests he showed it yeah he showed me the house Max house in Worli Village and he said to ye tera kamra hoga you know he stays in something like this he says you know Kriti is there uska zone alag hai and you know Gulshan to you know and this that and all and me and Kriti met and actually I just realized after I saw the film our relationship off screen kind of developed like Mac and Bilkis, you know, where I was starstruck. You know, these were big stars for me, yaar. Shaitan and that girl in yellow boots and, you know, Dhobi Ghat and what is happening, you know, what the hell? Like there was one side of the office which was peddlers, the other side was monsoon shootout. You know, Ayya was happening. I was like, wow. I was lucky I lucked out. A dream come true completely.
Well, I guess y'all had a lot of fun. I mean, you listening to Sadda Haq and Gulshan with his food thing, and you know, y'all. I'll ask a couple of questions, and after that, we'll open it to the audience. So please be ready, and we'll bring a mic to you. So Vasan, can happen. Seminar the Critics Week, where you know people like Ken Loach and Bernardo Bertolucci and Wong Kar-wai, their films are screened, and here you are a debutant from India. What was the feeling like back then? And after that, was it like you know back to zero, starting from square one?
Yeah, I mean, we went there कि यार तभी cigarette के पैसे नहीं, you know, we are in France, उधर दो euro का bottle, पानी का bottle, you know,
हमें
we
पता
like
नहीं था कि
thinking
हम
100
tap से
times,
पानी पी सकते हैं।
हाँ, that we
हम
didn't know
बहुत
tap
गाली
water was
देते
good
थे।
enough. So you know, sometimes going there is like tougher. कि अरे, you know, we don't have money for anything, but then when you go there, it is for cinema, it's for films. And when they make you sign the document for the Golden Palm, they're like, you know, you're going to sign this only once in your lifetime because it's for the debut and it's never going to happen again. So that is when it really hit. कि oh अच्छा यहाँ पे पहुँच गए. So no, I don't know. I think it didn't feel like an achievement. It was just that यार you know like the entitled videos that you see these days, पैसे दो हमको film बनाना है, we were those people then. And when you reach there, you felt the responsibility that, you know, whether we are going to give back the money or whatever this arrangement is, it's just like, अरे यार कहीं तो पहुंच गए somewhere with the film so that you don't, you know, like, you know, it's not like a cringe thing that you look back, but 12 years later you look back being a little responsible. Though we started recklessly, by the end you really feel responsible for, because you, at the peripheral you're seeing everyone is at it. And you know that weighs really down on you. Ki, the recklessness suddenly, you know, becomes a lot more responsible, that you have to somehow make something that is worth their time as well, because they're putting in so much hard work with no money, with nothing actually, and just some sort of faith that is around. So I think when we screened there was that relief more than any like yes kind of a moment.
And was it easy to shrug it off later on? I mean, that has happened. Abhi aage बढ़ रहे हैं, तो was it easy to shrug off all the achievements that happened at Cannes, and that's also applicable to Guneet, because you know, you've come such a long way since then.
मतलब एक वो genuinely बोलूँ तो अच्छा लग रहा था उस टाइम कि हम लोग यहाँ आए, हम पूरे क्रू को लेकर गए, हम बहुत छोटा सा क्रू थे, हम सबको साथ लेकर गए एंड सब साथ अपने आप आए एंड इट वाज अ वेरी वेरी गुड फीलिंग. इट वाज आल्सो अ गुड फीलिंग कि हमने स्टूडियो डील कर लिया, बट हमें ये नहीं पता था कि वो मतलब हम वापस आकर आई डोंट थिंक वी एवर फेल्ट लाइक वी अचीव्ड एनीथिंग. You know, we constantly felt like shit, you know, we should have known enough. You know, we felt like, I mean, I felt like it was personal loss and I felt like that for a decade and a half, like now, because हम तो उससे पहले 2 साल से बना रहे हैं कि मतलब इतना हसल किया कैन में, जब आई वाज इन फ्रांस तब नहीं पता था कि डायरेक्टर्स फोर्टनाइट भी होता है और क्रिटिक्स वीक भी होता है. बस कैन ही सेक्शन पता था. Didn't even know that there were parallel sections. Happened to stay there for 3 weeks. I was staying on different couches, Pan Anil's house, various people supported, and वहाँ जाकर पता चला कि और parallel sections हैं. So at that time, I was pitching Gangs of Wasseypur, Peddlers, and Monsoon Shootout. 3 films to various sections and trying to show up and figuring out and being my own assistant, writing emails, doing whatever, but getting the right people to watch the film. You know, उसके बाद तो मतलब वो it's the kismet of the film, and you know which section we get into. It was of course a high. वापस आकर वो जो contract sign किया स्टूडियो के साथ, तो बाकायदा दिमाग में वायलेंस चल रहे थे कि मतलब हमने तो उखाड़ लिया है कि वहाँ पे भी चले गए, स्टूडियो भी ले आए, स्टूडियो डील कर ली. और वो स्टूडियो के साथ हम जा रहे हैं, वहाँ पर वो लोग कैन में भी उनका अपना स्टॉल था, तो उन्होंने पूरा स्टॉल पेडलर्स किया हुआ था. तो ऐसी सब चीज़ें बहुत अच्छी लग रही थी. एक PR पर्सन भी हायर किया था. सो कैन्स वी डिड रियली वेल, एंड वन मेमोरी आई हैव ऑफ कैन वाज बिकॉज इट वाज द ईयर ऑफ फ्रूटवेल स्टेशन एंड रायन कुगलर, and that has somewhere stayed with me on so many years, that team, and it was also his first film. So a lot of first film people are put together for lunches, dinners, and networking, and you know, across sections, and it is quite amazing, you know, like for first and second time filmmakers. So that we were on a table with them in one of the dinners, and that has really stayed with me because, and over the years and I don't think we've ever spoken about it, but over the years वो जाकर उसने Creed 2 किया और ब्लैक पैंथर किया, और हम यहाँ पर फिगर आउट कर रहे हैं कि अगली मीटिंग कैसे करें. यू नो, सो आई डोंट थिंक देयर वाज नेवर अ फीलिंग ऑफ अचीवमेंट. इट वाज ऑलवेज लाइक अचीवमेंट वाज हाँ हमने बना लिया. उस टाइम जो हाई था, ऑफ कोर्स कैन का हाई था, बट उसके बाद इट्स बीन अ स्पाइरल डाउन ऑफ यू नो वी कांट कम आउट देयर, and how do you get validation, you know, if you're not going out to the audiences, because this is the real this thing. So it's been a journey of ups and downs, and you know, articulating all of this a decade ahead now. कभी सोचा नहीं था इतना समय ऐसे बीतेगा. But thank you to everybody here who was part of it.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you to all of you for coming here, taking time out, and you know, sharing your thoughts with us. And one last thing, Vasan, big week coming up in exactly 6
Jigra.
days' time.
Yeah.
You want to say something about that? Now is the time to plug it in.
Yeah.
अब पहले बड़ा plug कर रहे थे, अब बोल रहा हूँ.
I know, but after all this, suddenly that. But
इसका बजट 1 घंटे में निकलेगा वहाँ पे.
I hope so, yeah. I really hope. But I don't know. Talking about all this, then suddenly marketing takes a backseat. मतलब वो फिर अब समझ में नहीं आता what is that. But yeah, it's again coming back to, I think Prerna would probably feel if we've gone back to the same where we started and not really just given into the big budget.
No, we are same. We
Yeah,
still are
that's what I'm
fighting
saying,
on the
yeah.
edit table. We are still figuring out shots. So it's fun. It's always fun being in the edit room with Vasan, and yeah,
So
creating.
we are
magic.
all, as the audience, we are all super excited for Friday, Jigra, Vasan Bala. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a big round of applause to Kriti, Gulshan, Siddharth, of course, Vasan, Prerna, Guneet, and Achin.